We're starting a new unit on independent living, and the first section is 7.1 Find a Place to Live. This is 8.1 in your workbook. The objectives are to calculate the affordability of a monthly rent, determine the relationship between square footage and monthly rent, determine lease signing costs, and calculate moving expenses. So in this first example, Alex pays or makes $61,992 per year and pays about 25% of his gross monthly income in federal and state taxes. So that is something that we need to remember, 25 in taxes. He wants to find an apartment to rent. Estimate how much he can afford to pay for rent each month. Then determine how much he will have after taxes and rent are paid. So one thing to note is that the recommended rule is to budget 25 to 30% of the gross income for rent. So a good estimate uses 28%. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find out what Alex's gross monthly income. Well, what they gave us how much he made per year. So we'll need to take that $61,992 and divide by 12. So he grosses about $5,166 each month. Now remember, this is what he makes before taxes. Okay? So the affordability we're going to base on his gross income. So we're going to take that $5,166 and we're looking at the estimated affordable amount. So that means we're looking at the 25 to 30%, and we're going to use the 28%. So we're going to take that 5,166, multiply it times 28% in decimal form. That equals 1,446.48. So it's approximately $1,446 a month that he should be able to afford to pay. Now, how much will he pay in taxes? So we're going to take that 5,166 again, except for this time, we are going to look at it based on 25%. That is how much he pays in federal and state. So we're going to multiply that 5,166 times 25%, and we end up with approximately $1,292 that he has to pay in taxes. So what is his remaining amount of income? Well, to calculate this, you would take his net pay of $5,166, subtract the amount that he would be able to afford in rent, and then subtract the amount we're guessing he pays in taxes. And that would give us a remaining amount of $2,428 that he would have to spend on other expenses like gas, food, utilities, all the other things that you have to pay into. So when you're looking at renting or you're looking at houses, there are many common rental abbreviations. And just a few, I'm not going to go over the whole list, but just a few would be BR for bedroom, DW is dishwasher. You tend to see that a lot now because a lot of people have dishwashers. WIC, W-I-C, walk-in closet. You may not be as familiar with that. W/W, that's wall-to-wall carpeting. You will probably see that a lot. And these are just a few things. Okay, so in example 2, we're going to compare square footage to how much is being paid in monthly rent. So Rufus and Maria have both been offered new jobs in a different city. A real estate broker sent them a listing of apartments in their desired location, showing the square footage in each apartment. Use the linear regression analysis. So linear regression, remember, that is what we used in Desmos to determine if there's a correlation between the square footage of rental property and the amount charged for the monthly rent. What is the linear regression equation? Interpret the correlation coefficient. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take this table here on the left and we want to put it into Desmos as a table. Okay, and as you can see on the left side, I already did this on my example. I put it in, and that's where all the green dots popped up. And then the next step would be to, on a new line, enter the linear regression form. Now remember, that's y sub 1 with the tilde mark, ax sub 1 plus b. Now remember, you have to enter that 1 after the y and the x, because when we look at our line in our table over here, x sub 1 and y sub 1 are the x and y values. So I did that below, and it gave us the statistics with the correlation, and it gave us our parameters. What is our A going to be and what is our B going to be? So from here, we can take our A and our B amounts, place it in our linear regression formula, and get our line. So our formula would be y equals 0.91x plus 402.38. So notice what I did on the A equals 0.9066. I just rounded it up to 2 decimal positions. And the last thing we want to look at is our correlation. So our correlation is where R equals 0.96. So that is actually a pretty good correlation, and it tells us that they're pretty consistent about the amount they're charging per square footage in the apartment. The closer to 1, the better the correlation. And the last thing in this video that I want to discuss is determining how much Rufus and Maria should expect to pay to be able to move in the apartment. So let's look at the information they gave us. So Maria and Rufus paid a $200 application deposit for the 1,500 or 1,150 square foot apartment in example 2. So they are required to provide a credit report that costs $25 and pay a security deposit equal to 1 month's rent. The landlord also requires the last month's rent at the time of signing the lease. The broker charged 10% of the yearly rent. How much should they expect to pay to be able to move into the apartment? So we need to go back to example 2 and look how much is a 1,150 square foot apartment. So if we go back, a 1,150 square foot apartment is this one right here. So the monthly rent would be $1,595. So let me write this. Rent is $1,595. So now we need to add everything they said. Okay, so the first thing we need to put is the application deposit of $200. The credit report fee, that costs $25. That's highlighted in the blue. Security deposit is 1 month's rent, so the rent is $1,595, so that's what goes there. We need to have last month's rent, which is also $1,595. The broker's fee is 10% of the yearly rent. So we need to take that 10%, and that $1,595, this is the monthly amount. So we need to change that into a yearly amount. So this would be the monthly amount times 12 months in a year. And then multiply that by 10% in decimal form, which gives us $1,914. And the first month's rent is just the rent again at $1,595. So if we total everything up, before Rufus and Maria can even think about moving into this apartment, they need to have $6,924 on hand to pay. So it takes a lot of money when you first move out on your own. You can't start out little. You need to have some savings in place.